Okay, it's 3:00. Well, welcome and good afternoon to the October Pre-Planning Commission meeting. First thing on our agenda is item A, and that is PC 21-948, the 2020 Comprehensive Plan. And is Brandon on? Yes. Hey, Brandon.
Good afternoon, everyone. I really don't have anything to add. This is for the comp plan amendment to the municipal growth chapter to add the future schools map and the transportation chapter to revise the roadway classification map. Do you have any questions? I'm here to answer them.
I can see all the commissioners. Anybody have any questions or comments? Brandon. It looks like we are good.
Okay, great.
We'll talk on Monday.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Have a good weekend. Item B, PC 21-804, final plat for 206 Broadway, and that's Sherry.
Yeah, hi. Nothing really to add other than the applicant did submit a map of the general vicinity to better depict the lots, the surrounding lots, to show the varying sizes as they relate to the slide.
I'm actually going to do a roll call because I know we had a number of conversations, so I'm going to make sure everybody is good. Commissioner Strawson.
I only was able to pick my packet up this morning, so I haven't really looked at the new map. But I'm kind of looking at it now. I think I'm good. I don't think I have any questions. Thanks.
Okay, Commissioner Beatty.
Commissioner Beatty here. The only question that I had, it struck me that for some reason they didn't split the line up the middle. There's just I think a 4-foot difference between the upper lot and the lower lot. Was there a reason for that? It just seems odd that one would be smaller than the other.
No, sorry, my dog's barking. No, they didn't specify any reason why they did that.
Okay.
Commissioner Sprati.
I don't have any questions. Thank you.
Commissioner Benalis.
Commissioner Benalis, no questions. Thank you.
Alderman Russell.
I think, if I recall, the lots were designed that way because one lot has some existing asphalt on it on one side that was going to be part of the parking, and the other one had parking in a different location, so it was just sort of a shift to accommodate.
Any questions or any?
No.
So I guess I just wanted to underscore on page 4 the couple of sentences about the 5-car garage. I know we had a number of discussions about it, and my takeaway from the workshop was I didn't remember this not being part of our consideration, but in reading this isn't anything that we are to consider, right? Correct?
Yes, that's correct. I just wanted it to be informational so that you knew what they had proposed.
Okay. All right. That was my only question. Anything else from anybody as a follow-up or otherwise? Okay.
Thank you.
Moving on. Thanks, Sherry. Moving on, PC 21-181. It's a combined preliminary plat and final site plan for Spring Bank Lot 2A. And this is Pam. If Pam is on. Pam is on.
Yes, I am on. Sorry. We've reached out to the developer more about the fencing that we had a concern of with the barrier fence and any private fencing that would be on the rear of those lots. And he stands pretty firm on that. He believes that the barrier fence, he prefers not to put that on the rear of the lot line, even though it's 7 feet tall. And he has provided a graphic that will allow them to have their side fence lines, but not enclose them. And we're asking for them to add a note and place that on the plan itself. The next big item would be that they will get their parkland in lieu of amount approved by the mayor and board. And from that on, we did ask for on the site plan, the landscaping plan, to fill in that one vacant spot to screen the barrier fence. And the rest of it is pretty straightforward. Engineering had a little bit of cleanup for the right-of-way width of 30 feet wide for a right-of-way to make sure those perpendicular parking spaces are out of the legal public right-of-way.
Okay. Commissioner Sparati.
Commissioner Sparty, I don't have any questions at this time. Thank you.
Commissioner Beatty.
Commissioner Beatty, no questions, thanks.
Commissioner Manalis.
Commissioner Manalis, I recently picked up my packet today too, and I just had a question about, now that I'm looking at it, the traffic noise impact analysis for this project. I'm just trying to figure out if the noise levels, like, for lack of a better word, like, are they appropriate? Like, what exactly? Can you explain a little bit, if you can, about the noise analysis for this noise impact?
Well, I can't tell you specifically. I don't have the noise analysis in front of me exactly, and not really truly understanding all of the language in it, but knowing that they had to comply with the 65 decimal on the outside and 45 on the inside, and that 45 will be met with at the building permit stage, because that's a building code kind of mediation, that they will look at the wall thickness maybe, or what the fill will be, or anything of design. So,
okay, thank you.
Okay, Commissioner Strawson.
Commissioner Strawson, so the changes that they made to the barrier wall, you said on the sides, is that going to take care of the issue that we were talking about at workshop with this kind of like long wind tunnel effect between the private fences and the wall?
Well, it still will be, the distance will still be 10 feet between the end of the side fence lines.
Okay.
But there won't be, as security wise, it's not enclosing that tunnel, but that distance from the side fence lines will be still 10 feet.
Okay. All right. Thank you. That's all I had.
Alderman Russell.
Yeah, so I'm looking at what we're creating is a lot of corrals that are connected to each other. That I'm just wondering, you know, we're sort of creating a hidden access for people to come into backyards, and I'm not really seeing the benefit of that configuration at all. I think it's, you know, it's maybe a different kind of a security risk. I don't know. Have we looked at it in terms of SEPTED?
No, we did not send that. I did not send that to the police. I mean, really, we've gotten some professional recommendations in thinking that what the standard is, that they would put that on the rear of the property lines. And we did not have a problem with a 7 foot with a modification. I think it's the design of the fencing and them wanting to make sure that the property owners don't damage the fencing to the point where it no longer, or maybe they remove it, or I don't know what they're thinking there as how much damage it would cause. I mean, if they had a declaration to these lots that they would have to, you know, that this fencing was put into an easement for HOA protection. You know, I don't know legally what they would be any different than what they have now. People are going to just extend their yards, you're right, maybe into that distance area there.
Yeah, I'm not concerned. I'm sure people will use whatever yard is there. But what I'm thinking is that somebody comes in one end and can then access each of those backyards not being seen by anybody else, from
Right.
the exterior. I don't know if that's making any sense.
Yeah.
And when you talk about the valuations of the property, I'm thinking, so I am perplexed. And my question about this is the issue with the fence. Would comments that we have about the fence, would that go to the modification, or would it go to the actual combined preliminary plat and final site plan?
Well, the modification's only for the height.
That's what I thought.
Not for the
Yeah.
location or anything. So if you decide that you feel that they either are able to put a fence at the rear of their property and then they do have that tunnel in between, or if you ask the applicant to put that fence at the rear of the property for security reasons, both ways at looking at it, maybe there would be a way for them to decide, for maintenance and protection from those property owners, that fence is protected or stays in place.
I do want to, at our pre-planning session, we really want to make sure we're focusing on kind of comments and answers, as to the content, not having too much discussion because we don't have the applicant.
Okay. So my question then is, would this discussion be towards the final plat or to the preliminary plat and final site plan, not toward the modification?
Correct. You're the questions
Okay.
you have regarding the fencing on the private property is the privacy fencing that may or may not be there. Please keep in mind, the developer does not build the fencing with the housing. That's a personal option that people will take advantage of.
It's
homeowners.
The placement of the wall, where that wall goes.
The wall will be decided by the developer, but any of the privacy fencing is a homeowner constructed improvement later down the road. What they proposed is just that they restrict homeowners from putting any fencing on the rear property line, so that if a homeowner in the future chooses to install fencing, what you saw in that graphic may be the arrangement, and maybe you only have one homeowner who decides to put up the individual barriers, and the next homeowner doesn't, and their yard is open. So it is to depict what could be the possibility, but what we proposed and what the applicant is asking is that they would put a restriction on any fencing on the rear property line of those lots. So whether the individual homeowners put in fences or not in the future on the internal property lines, that could happen. But what the plan would be controlling is just precluding fencing on the rear property line.
And the placement and the developer's specific placement of that wall, that is part of the final site plan.
Absolutely, because that's being driven by the need to get down to that 65 decibels. So that 7-foot wall in the design, and it's or fence, it's not really a masonry wall, it's a fence. That location, the height, is all a function of getting to the compliance with the 65 decibels, which is very much part of this plan.
That was my actual question. Any other questions? Alderman Russell.
So the placement of the wall not at the rear of the property lines is an important, is it an important factor in the noise mitigation? If it's closer, does that lessen the mitigation? If it is on the property line, as we've asked?
I do not know. This is the location they've shown based on their sound analysis. So how that moves one way or the other, that would be something they'd have to advise.
Okay. So I thought the placement was based on what they thought how it impacted the valuation of the property, not the sound analysis.
There was a concern. We know that the wall at this location gets it to the decibels that it needs to be. I don't know if you move it in, if it would still, or if it changes that. Their concern that they've expressed to us about putting it on the rear property line had to do with concern about valuation of lots, and whatever design element they're coming from. But it's a good question to ask.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay. All right. Next item is item D, PC 21-802, the preliminary forest conservation plan and final forest conservation plan for Meadowbrook.
And since we met, we did have had determined that the larger lot could be developed, and as a legal defense opinion on our legal department. So this will be for 5 lots as shown, but this is the forest plan for those 5 lots. And nothing else I would say has really substantially changed at all. So.
Okay. Commissioner Manalis.
No questions, thank you.
Commissioner Beatty.
Commissioner Beatty, no questions, thanks.
Commissioner Sparati.
No questions, thank you.
Commissioner Strassen.
I have no questions. Thank you.
Alderman Russell.
No questions, thanks.
On page 4, it says at the workshop, the Planning Commission questioned the boundary of the large 5th lot, the long Panhandle Drive, and as caretaker of the forest site. So I didn't see that there was a clarification on what the boundary of that 5th lot was.
I assume that we have the boundary of that 5th lot up there. Even though I'm looking at my drawing right now and I can't see it.
I think I might see it, but
I can see
yeah.
the 5th lot where it is.
Okay.
Yeah, there it is.
Okay, that's what okay. It didn't say it didn't mention that it was defined in, so it goes, actually, if you put your cursor back, Pam.
Gabrielle's controlling that.
Oh, Gabrielle. Yeah. It's like a little Texas, right? A little squishy Texas shape. Could you go around?
So if you can see the cursor,
Yeah.
They join Meadowbrook Road for the short distance up here at this kind of panhandle or pipe stem, and then down along the side of lot 15, all the way over, down across the easement, all along where you see the triangle. That's it denoting the forest conservation fencing, but it's also along the property perimeter. And then we go back up, and then the property line stops here at this corner because that's a lot 11. It's kind of angular. And then it runs flat along the backs of the other lot.
So all this forest conservation plan would be first done, then the lot would be sold, and the person would be responsible for keeping up, the lot owner would be responsible for keeping up the forest conservation?
Well, the good thing about forest conservation is that forests are natural places, and the idea is to kind of let them go. It's more a matter of concern that the resident will infiltrate into the forest, so much than putting any kind of burden on the property owner. The concern you get when you have forest on private, residential lots, which does occur, is just that the resident respects what's there.
Okay.
Yeah, I would be afraid that they would go in and start using the wood for burning or whatever they'd want to go in. That is a concern.
Commissioner Strassen had her hand up.
Yes, so thank you. So is there anything about the forest conservation plan that requires some kind of deed restriction placed on that lot to prevent the owner from doing that? Or is that something that they can require?
Well, it will get recorded a long-term protection easement over it. However, they're going to have a title search and declaration to a declaration to this person, whoever buys it, because the plat's already been recorded. And most of the time you see these easements on the final plats. And so whenever they would do a title search or something for this property, when they sell it, that's when they should be known that they have an easement on that forest.
Okay. But how do they know what that means and what they can and can't do with it?
Well, the long-term agreement does spell out of, not cutting down and things like that. I mean, they'd have to go into the long-term agreement to read what the protection is for that forest. But we always hope that sometimes the realtors will explain some of these things to them, but sometimes they hide these things from them. So.
Okay. Huh. All right.
There are signs, protection signs that are supposed to stay there, 50% of protection signs for the forest. So that would also be some kind of notice to the buyer.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Any other comments or questions on this? Okay, great. Thanks, Pam.
Okay.
And then that takes us to our last item, and this is the zoning map amendment for West College Terrace.
Hi, good afternoon, Lisa Morozic Murphy. There is nothing that's changed as far as the application goes from what was discussed at workshop. There is some additional testimony submitted from the owner developer team regarding consistency with the comprehensive plan. So I think that will be a discussion point for the hearing on Monday, but other than that, there have been no changes to the application.
Okay, so we'll do a roll call. Commissioner Strawson.
Thank you. Oh, geez, this is the end of a long week and my brain just completely emptied. I had a very important question.
We can come back to you if you'd like.
Please, I would appreciate it.
Commissioner Beatty.
Commissioner Beatty, no questions. Thank you.
Commissioner Sparati.
Commissioner Sparati, no questions. Thank you.
Commissioner Manalis.
No questions. Thank you.
Alderman Russell.
No, I'm going to stall for a little time here for Commissioner Strawson. I want an important question to come back around on the guitar.
I did remember, even though I believe that Alderman Russell made it clear that any proposed changes to the development plan from the applicant would not directly affect the question that we're being asked here. Have they submitted anything different at this point?
Not officially. I did meet with the applicant team or the developer owner team last week, and they presented some architectural renderings, but there was nothing presented as far as any changes to the site plan. It still included complete demolition, so that doesn't sort of change the question about preservation of the building. And I think one thing, just important to know is that the HBO doesn't prevent redevelopment of a property. So those two areas, the comprehensive plan, aren't mutually exclusive.
Right. Okay, great. That was it. Thank you.
I don't have any further questions. Is there anything else from anyone on this? Okay, well, that concludes our agenda. Any other conversations or? All right, guys.
Great weekend.
Same to all of you, and we'll
Thank
see
you.
you on Monday. The meeting's adjourned.
Bye.